A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sabah Abbas, and on behalf of Payam-e Amn, I would like to thank each and everyone which gathers men and women from all over the world to discuss the theme of the program, our Muslim women and their voices, balancing health, career, family, and life, as per the Ahli-Bayt alayhim salam on our YouTube channel, Ahli-Bayt Media. So the sponsor for this program is Stand with Dignity. Established in 1978, Payam-e Amn is a non-profit organization, is one of the oldest organizations of New Jersey. It's a publisher with books, mostly in English, for both youth and adults, has held various Islamic Day seminars, including Hussein Day since 1978. One of the oldest running programs where leaders and religious scholars of different faith, politicians, academic, and others speaks on the Imam from an interfaith perspective, various interfaith workshops and camps for youth. Thank you for joining us today for an insightful, inspiring, and thought-provoking session with prominent and successful Muslim women as we discuss challenges, resources, ideas, strategies, and lessons from their daily lives, balancing homes, career, health, and life while being mothers, sisters, wives, and daughters in both our present and their futures. We have so many examples of the most virtuous women who played great roles in our glorious Islamic history. Our history is full of women role models. It starts from Mother of Islam, Khadijat al-Kubra, alayhi salam, the first wife of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is a shining example of a strong, independent Muslim woman with an entrepreneurial spirit, and then her daughter Fatima az-Zahra salamullah alayha, who is always a role model in Shia Islam. The role model that she represents is not limited to her knowledge. She also has a dominant role as a wife of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Prophet's successor, and she is the defender of his succession. The teaching of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, which later became the guide for all Shia religion, owe a lot to his wife's spiritual influence. Such a status is neither introduced or nor authorized for any women in any other religion. I'm looking forward to hearing all of the dialects from our wonderful speakers today, and I hope you do the same. Finally, I would like to pass the mic to our today's host. Our today's host is a dear friend of mine and needs no introduction, Sister Nausheen Yusuf Sadiq. Sister Nausheen Yusuf Sadiq obtained her master's degree in religious studies from Boston University. Her thesis topic was on Sayyida Zainab's legacy and the model of martyrdom in Shia Islam. She's published in I Speak for Myself, American Women on Being Muslim is featured in iCover, A Day in the Life of a Muslim American Covered Girl, and in various other academic and religious works. She currently resides in New Jersey with her wonderful family. Without further ado, I am representing our today's host, Sister Nausheen Yusuf Sadiq. Jazakallah.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Thank you so much, Sister Sabah. Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. My name is Nausheen, and I'd like to welcome you to our program today. We are so fortunate to be able to bring you the voices of 5 inspirational speakers from all around the world to the comfort of your own home. Today, we will be talking about balancing health, career, and family. Although this program is featuring women and is directed at women, it really is a seminar for both spouses or even couples who are divorced but raising a family together, as achieving balance and harmony in the home cannot be done single-handedly. We're going to be talking about a feeling we can all relate to, an endless stream of to-do lists going in your head and never feeling like there's enough time to get to it. And while some have resources for help, there's just no replacement for the role a woman plays in her family. No one can care for her children the way that a mother can. No one can support a husband the way that he needs his wife. No one can look after parents the way a daughter will. Being the mental and emotional rock for your family is a job you simply cannot outsource. While we are teaching little humans to pray and read Quran, who's making sure that we have quiet time to connect spiritually? Or while we're making sure everyone is eating healthy, who's making sure we have time to eat anything really during the day? Inshallah, we will address how to achieve a balance between the different duties a woman has in her life using the examples of our holy Ahl Bayt alayhim salam. With that, I'd like to introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker today is Fiza Tajwer. Sister Fiza is the founder of the Imam Mahdi Awareness Campaign. She is also a special needs support worker, a part-time Hawza student, a madrasa teacher, a speaker, a wife, and a mother of 2 beautiful children, mashallah. She's giving a talk today entitled The Importance of Imam Mahdi in Our Lives. Sister Fiza.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, to the Imam of our time, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif, and to all our blessed panelists, the organizers, and everybody who is joining us today, inshallah. I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Imam of our time and the organizers of this amazing event for giving me the opportunity to come here and talk today, inshallah. And inshallah, we will all benefit from the talk. This talk is most for me, a reminder for me, and inshallah, we can all benefit from this. It's great that we have these talks so that we can relate to each other, help each other, and learn from each other how to implement lessons within our lives. And the reason why I have spoken about, why I have decided to speak about the Imam of our time, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif, is because he is the most important person in our lives right now. He is alive, he is aware, and he is the one to whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made obedience obligatory towards. And ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is joined to the ma'rifah of Imam Zaman, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. So to complement the talk that I will be giving, I will be sharing my screen. So we have a visual on what we will be talking about today, inshallah. Sister Noshin, can you see my screen okay?
Yes, we can see your screen. Go ahead.
Jazakallah khair, Jazakallah khair. So my talk today, inshallah, is about the importance of Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif in our lives. But more importantly, we will be talking about the importance of the ma'rifah of the Imam of our time, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif, and how it impacts our life, how important it is to our lives, and how we as women can implement the ma'rifah of the Imam of our time to better our lives and better the lives of those around us, inshallah. Many of us will have noticed that throughout the years, Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif has not been mentioned, whereas he is the representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the earth today. He is the one to whom obedience is mandatory, as being the followers of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. He is our living Imam. Through him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows us with the bounties and blessings that we are receiving today. It is through him that the cosmos is still in motion. It is through him that we reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is because of him that we exist today. He is the reason for our existence. But how much is he a part of our existence? How much does he take part in our existence? And we have to think about these things because obligatory to him is our obedience. And how are we inculcating this into our lives today? I would like to begin with a beautiful hadith by Imam Hussein alayhi salam, in which he says, "O people, Allah the Almighty, the Sublime, did not create human beings except that they have ma'rifah of him. Thus, if they have ma'rifah of him and then worship him, they would become needless of worshipping anything else." Then a man asked Imam Hussein alayhi salam, "What is the ma'rifah of Allah?" And he replied, "In every age, the ma'rifah of Allah is the ma'rifah of the Imam, whose obedience is obligatory upon the people." In another hadith, a very well-known hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he states, "One who dies but does not possess the ma'rifah of the Imam of his time has died on the religion of ignorance." Many times this hadith is translated, the word ma'rifah is translated into knowing or to know. One who dies but does not know of the Imam of his time. If this was the case and the only requirement from us was to know the Imam of our time, then all of the people who went against Imam Hussein on the plain of Karbala also knew Imam Hussein. They had knowledge of him. They knew who he was. Yet they were the perpetrators and they were the ones who subjected Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his blessed caravan to all of the oppression and tyranny that they did. So from this, we can see that merely knowing about the Imam of our time is not enough. This word ma'rifah translates into gnosis, into a word which is irfan, having irfan of the Imam of our time. And we're going to discuss what this is, because it is quite important to understand what is required from us in order to implement these teachings within our lives. Because the importance of the Imam, if we do not have this ma'rifah of the Imam of our time, we will be dying on the religion of ignorance. And it won't matter how many a'mal, how many things we practice, how many things we do. If we do not have the ma'rifah of the Imam, none of it will count. So we're going to talk about what this ma'rifah means and how we can adopt it into our life. What is this gnosis? What is this irfan? A deep spiritual recognition and knowledge. Much like, if I was to give an example, much like how we know our parents. Why? Because our obedience towards Imam is because he is the manifestation of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the complete manifestation. Through him we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he manifests the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And our parents also do this. Our parents are the non-infallibles, the non-ma'soomeen, who manifest the most attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why obedience to them is also obligatory. So gnosis is a deep spiritual recognition and knowledge. So here we determine that we need ma'rifah. But what else is required? Let's go to the Holy Quran. In the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to tell the people, I do not ask of you any reward for it except muwadda, for my relatives, for the people of my house. And after this, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam communicated the verse to the Muslims, and thereafter he said, today onwards you should have love for my family. So here we distinguish that we need ma'rifah and we need muwadda. Merely loving the Ahlul Bayt, merely loving the Imam of our time is not enough. So what is this ma'rifah and how can we attain it? And the way in which I want to explain this is through a sort of a plan, a diagram that we can easily see and visualize and follow, inshallah, in our lives. Me being the first person to try and implement this path in my life to attain this ma'rifah of the Imam of our time. I want you to remember these two M's that we have just spoken about, ma'rifah and muwadda, which are what is required of us. Before we begin on this journey on attaining this ma'rifah of the Imam of our time, we must keep two things in our mind. First of all, our intention, and we must strive towards the Imam of our time. And secondly, we must keep purifying ourselves through repentance and self-assessment and self-purification, inshallah. So what's the first thing that we need to do? First and foremost, we must gain ilm and knowledge. We can't love something who we don't know. We can't love someone who we don't know. If we don't know somebody, we cannot claim to love them. Merely knowing details of their birth certificate is not enough. So what do we need to gain ilm about? What do we need to gain knowledge about? We need to gain ilm and knowledge about our duties towards the Imam of our time, his characteristics, status and importance, signs of reappearance and conditions of reappearance. And once we gain this ilm and knowledge, which most of us have, this leads to muhabba, to love, which will manifest through us being inclined towards the Ahlul Bayt al-Islam, inclined towards the Imam of our time, appreciating the Imam of our time and being inspired by the Imam of our time. And this is for all of the Ahlul Bayt al-Islam, and this is where we are all at this moment. And mashallah, all of you are much further than me, inshallah. But what do we have to do after we gain this knowledge? How do we reach ma'rifah and muhabba and mawadda? First of all, it is the implementation of the knowledge of religious obligations and the Imam himself, plus praying for ma'rifah. And this is something that I have not heard very much of, the importance of praying for ma'rifah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in a few minutes, we will discuss how we know this. Once we start implementing this knowledge of the religious obligations and the knowledge of the Imam of our time, plus praying for ma'rifah, this will lead to ma'rifah and spiritual recognition and muwadda. So we see that we need to start at the knowledge. We need to know about the Imam of our time. This will inshallah inculcate that love within us, including and plus implementing the knowledge and knowing about the Imam of our time, praying for ma'rifah, will lead to ma'rifah and muwaddah, which will show through submission, imitation, and sacrifice. And I just want you to take a minute to think about whether we are submitting to the Imam of our time. How are we allowing or teaching our children, our families, how are they submitting to the Imam of our time? Are we submitting to the Imam of our time, which is in line with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Are we imitating his akhlaq, his behavior, the behavior of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam? When somebody looks at us and sees us, does he see that we are imitating the greatest people ever to have lived on this earth, the divine leaders of this earth, of this ummah, the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam? And are we able to sacrifice? Can we sacrifice our low desires? Can we sacrifice our materialistic desires, our worldly gains for the sake of the Imam? This is a point where we need to reflect and really think about our actions and how we are showing our muwaddah to the Imam of our time. Has this ma'rifah reached us? Are we at a level of ma'rifah? So once we have reached, and what is the difference between the two? A love, when we love somebody, there is still room for dispute. We are selective about our commitment, and there is always a difference in opinion or choice. But with muwaddah, there is no room for dispute. There is no difference in opinion. Your life becomes as he wants it to be and nothing else. No questions asked, but out of love, this ilm and love, because there is no compulsion in religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to go towards him because of our love for him, not because we are being forced towards him. What will happen with this ma'rifah and muwaddah of Imam Mahdi ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif? We will gain ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what Imam Hussein alayhi salam has explained in the beautiful hadith that I started with. Next question, can we gain ma'rifah ourselves? It has been narrated by Hakim that Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salam said, that he asked Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salam, who is responsible for granting this ma'rifah of the Imam? And Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salam replied, it is the doing of Allah, and the servant has no role in it on their own without the intervention of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we know now that we must pray for the ma'rifah of the Imam of our time. We must strive to gain this ma'rifah of the Imam of our time. Why? What is the importance? If we don't, we won't reach our goal of knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we will die the death of ignorance. How do I know if I am going that direction, the way my life is going right now? How do I know? What is a good indicator that in my life as a woman, as a leader in the family, as a mother to my children, how do I know that I am going in that direction? There is a good indicator for us to analyze whether we are going in the right direction. And in the beautiful hadith by Imam Hasan Askari alayhi salam, he says, none will remain safe during the occultation except for the one who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps steadfast and gives him the opportunity to pray for the reappearance. Let's think about how much we are praying for the reappearance, brothers and sisters. It is a direct command by our Imam. Pray more for my reappearance, for in it lies your salvation. Do we want salvation, and do we understand the meaning of salvation? Do we want the Imam to come, which is shown through how much we pray? And this is a good indicator as to the level of ma'rifah we actually hold of the Imam. So we see from looking at what we have just seen, the plan towards the Imam of our time to get on the way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the Imam. We must be, number one, we must want this ma'arifah. We must want the ma'arifah of the Imam of our time. And number two, we must be worthy. So the first two words that we learnt was that we need ma'arifah and mawaddah. And to get these, we must want the ma'arifah and mawaddah, and we must be worthy of the ma'arifah and mawaddah, which is bestowed only through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And most of us must have seen this tree that usually we are told this is our religion. We have the usul ad-din and furu ad-din. And when I saw this tree, and when I looked at how Islam was being explained to our children in madrasas and our communities, I was being presented with this deen tree, which didn't really resonate with me because it was bare. There was nothing on it. There was no fruit, there was no produce, there was no end result to this. And carrying on through my studies, you realize that the fruit of this tree, the actual produce of this tree is akhlaq. And that our ikhlaq, our ma'rifah will be reflected through our actions and behavior. Is this reflected in any hadith? Has any Imam spoken about this? Yes. Imam Baqir alayhi salam beautifully says during the occultation, you must uphold his conduct and the noble Quran, because our ma'rifah is reflected through our akhlaq. When we look at ourselves, when we look at our families, are we reflecting and imitating the akhlaq of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam? Have we gained such ma'rifah that we are imitating them? Our behavior towards people, our neighbors, Muslims and non-Muslims, family members and people who we don't even know. How are we presenting ourselves in front of them? Are we presenting ourselves in front of them as Imam Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif would want us to, as he himself would? So we need to think about these things when we are leading our daily lives. Another thing we must make sure of, there's a lot of words that I have sort of tried to start with the same letter so it's easier for us to remember. When we look at the path that we just looked at, the structure that we looked at, the first thing was gaining knowledge. And these 4 E's, which are very important that we implement in our daily lives, that we have, tried to implement in our lives, are the 4 areas of gaining knowledge through our experiences, examples, environment, and education. This seed of Islam needs nourishment to grow, and this will come through these 4 areas of knowledge. So we as mothers in our homes must ensure that our experiences for our families and ourselves, the examples and role models around our children, around our families, around ourselves, the environment, the education, is all helping us to progress towards this ma'rifah of the Imam of our time. Ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that a seed of Islam within us, which we are born with or we attain when we revert to the religion of Islam, is constantly being nourished, so that we reach irfan, we progress towards the Imam of our time. And scientifically, I learned that why branches spread out and why flowers appear or why fruits appear is to increase the surface area, so that we can reach the sunlight, the plant or the tree can reach and gain more sunlight. And how has the Imam of our time been described? The sun behind the clouds. So the more we increase our ability, the more we increase our capacity to reach this to receive this guidance from the Imam of our time, the more we will build a relationship with him, and the more our lives will become in line with the desire of the Holy Ahlul Bayt. So the 4 E's I want you to remember is education, environment, examples, and experiences. What do we need to do? This is just a small summary of everything that we've just spoken about. 15 minutes is a really short time, and inshallah, hopefully I haven't gone over. But number 1 is to know our purpose, our goal, which is to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Have the intention to strive in the way of Allah and Imam Mahdi alayhi salam after knowing our purpose. Know the destination, which is Allah. Know the way to the destination, which is the Imam of our time. Number 3, remember that ma'rifah and mawadda is required from us. Number 4, remember that we must want and be worthy of ma'rifah of the Imam of our time. Number 5, gain knowledge of Allah, ourselves, religion, and the Imam. Number 6, ensure that our education, environment, examples, and experiences are inspiring us and helping us and our children and families to progress towards our goal. Number 7, implement this knowledge and pray for ma'rifah. We need constant self-reflection and accounting. Number 9, seeking repentance and purifying ourselves. So the ground that we just saw, where that tree is being formed, where the seed is being planted, that needs constant purification, because if it is full with dirt and rubbish, it will cause a hindrance to the growing of our faith, to the progression of our faith. Number 10, fulfilling the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Imam and the people. And number 11, displaying good behavior and akhlaq in line with our teachings. And this, brothers and sisters, is the first step in active intizar of the Imam of our time. If we want to hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time, we must be in active intizar. And we see this in many teachings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. The duty of every believer is to await the relief, to await the faraj, to await the Imam of our time. And this is how we need to begin and be on that road towards active intizar, and be on the road towards attaining ma'rifah of the Imam of our time. And just to finish, for the blessing blessings of this gathering, inshallah, I would like to relate 2 hadiths. One hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which shows the status of the one who is in intizar and follows and who has ma'rifah of the Imam of our time, who has muwadda towards the Imam of our time. He says, happiness is for the one who will attend the qaim of my Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam and will follow him before his rise. Are we following him before his rise? Are we acknowledging his presence in our life? He says this person will love the qaim's lovers and hate his enemies, and will accept the leadership of the imams before his advent. These are my friends and the most sincere members of my ummah, whom I honor very much. So the one who is in active intizar, the one who is striving to and helping their families and helping their communities to reach this ma'rifah and muwadda and to become a Mahdawi family, a Mahdawi community, we are regarded from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as his friends. And we are honored by Rasulullah. What a great status this is for us Shias, the followers and lovers of Imam al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajah sharif. And from the words of the Imam himself, he says, if our Shia, in a letter to Shaykh al-Mufid, he says, if our Shia, may Allah help them in his obedience, would have fulfilled their covenant. This covenant is the covenant of muwadda towards the family of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, with united hearts, then there would have been no delay in our meeting. Subhanallah, these few words inculcate everything that we have spoken about today. Obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which comes through knowledge. Fulfill their covenant, which is the muwadda and the ma'rifah. We promised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With united hearts, our akhlaq and our behavior towards others, are we united? Are we helping each other? Are we looking after each other? The Imam says, if we were doing all these things, then our meeting would not have been delayed. So these things we need to try and inculcate into our lives today and think of practical and creative ways of how we can do this. I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this opportunity to speak about Imam al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajah sharif. And inshallah, this has blessed our gatherings. And the final dua is, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasten the reappearance of our 12th Imam, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajah sharif. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ala ahli baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.
SubhanAllah, Sister Fiza, thank you so much for that beautiful and spiritually nourishing reminder of knowing and remembering our beloved Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. I love how you laid out your information and organized it for us to watch. Thank you so much. And I'm going to mention quickly here, inshallah, we will be highlighting the websites of all the organizations that our speakers are involved in or have founded for our YouTube audience, inshallah. Next up, we have Sister Uzma Naqvi. Uzma Naqvi is the director of Uzma Naqvi Life Coaching and the founder of Club 313, a platform for youth empowerment in the areas of emotional, physical, professional, spiritual, cognitive, and social development. She is a qualified holistic transformational life coach, practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming and cognitive behavior therapy. She is certified in Ho'oponopo and thought field therapy, an author in the making, and the mother of 4 beautiful children, ages 18, 16, 4, and 1, mashallah. Her speech is entitled Empowering and Balancing Well-Being, Mind, Heart, Body, and Soul. Sister Uzma.
Thank you so much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum to all of the respected listeners and those people who are on the panel. It's wonderful to be here. I just wanted to extend my gratitude and thank you to people who have put this wonderful event together. I think it's so lovely to for people to recognize that women wear many hats, and it's just so nice to gather together and actually talk about some of the ways that we can take some of the burden off and share that, you know, the things that we're going through are not, we're not alone in them. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and inviting me here. I'm really blessed to be here. So today I was reflecting earlier this morning when I got up and I knew that this program is coming up. I was thinking, what does one talk about when you have 10 minutes? And in those 10 minutes, you want to wrap up something, a subject that has that can be vast. You can go hours and hours and hours talking about it. And I was reflecting about this, and I was thinking that I wanted to give something within those 10 minutes where I'm speaking about something that's not only impactful, but something that you can actually relate to and actually apply to your lives as well. So in the midst of like hundreds of different topics that I could have gone with, I would like to start with something that a beautiful speech by Sister Fiza has ended with, actually, and it's really fallen nicely. And we haven't actually had any conversations about what our speeches are about. So it's just tied in really nicely. That I want to start my speech with something to do with the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, because that's what gathers us together in the first place. And then I will end with the same, but in between I will give you a few things that I do practically in order for me to carry on doing what I do and wearing so many different hats. So what I wanted to talk about before I start the actual different things that we can do practically is that how do we relate to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and talking about the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, because a while back, I used to think that the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam means that I have a deep connection with the Aimma Masumin, and the fact that when I'm having a tough day, when I've had something that I'm dealing with, that I have this ability to speak to Lady of Light, perhaps, or Imam Hussein alayhi salam, or any of the Aimma, and I could just tell them, this is what I'm going through, and this is the heaviness that I'm feeling at the moment, and I like your help, and perhaps read a tasbih of Lady Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha and dedicate that to her, and almost feel like you've actually handed over your burden to her, and then you have some kind of a peace. And while that's a very wonderful practice to have under your belt, it's an amazing tool to have, and it is something that we all use perhaps on a daily basis because we all go through so many different things. But what I understood as I was learning more and more about self-development and growing internally is that the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop just with me having a good connection. It actually extends far, far wider than that. It goes so far deeply into not only our immediate family, but also beyond that and into our communities. And sadly, this is something that I have experienced and I have seen a lot of lack of in our community, the lack of unity and the lack of togetherness. And I think that if we are to understand the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam and understand that when we say we love Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, we have to understand that it also includes loving anybody who's, all of the humanity, but particularly those people who are under the umbrella and under the wilaya of Imam Ali alayhi salam, because that makes us a family. That is something that unites us. That is something that makes us together. So it is really important for us to have that recognition and have that sukoon and the peace in our hearts, knowing that there are so many people around us in our communities doing amazing work. But if we had the unity, it would just make it so much more blessed of a thing. So that's something that I've experienced as I got to know more and more people in the community, that we are lacking this. So I'm going to leave this topic here, and then I'm going to touch on a few things that I've done personally in order for me to enhance my life and make it easier for me to kind of wear so many hats and do different things. And then I will join it back onto this subject. So please bear with me. So now moving on to sort of what is it that women have to do? Because like I said, we do so many different things, and we kind of transition in and out of being a nurse and being a taxi driver and being a mother and all sorts of things. Like we have a whole long list of things that I'm not going to bore moms with because they all know exactly what I'm talking about. But while we're doing all of this, one of the things that gets neglected majority of the times by women, some men as well, but definitely by women, is self-care. And I think that it's just not talked about enough. And I really wanted to take a few minutes just discussing self-care and what does that entail. So in self-care, there can be so many different things. And when we're talking about self-care, perhaps a massage comes to your mind, or maybe a facial comes to your mind, or something like that. But I'm not talking about that, although that is a very lovely luxury to have if you can make time. I'm referring more to inner self-care. I'm talking more about the inner peace that you feel. And one of the things that really helped me do this is I developed a morning routine, which is my non-negotiable time. Like if my kids are up at 6, I make sure I'm up at 5 to make sure that I have that hour, which I'm not giving to anyone else. So this is one of the things that really helped me kind of be in the right mindset for me to have a successful day so that I can carry on doing the things that I plan on doing. So within the morning routine, there are lots of different things that I've incorporated. But one of the most important things that I want to share with you guys today is meditation. And when we talk about meditation, especially within the Islamic realm, people seem to think that this is something to do with like Buddha teachings and, you know, whatnot. It's kind of not really related to us, but it is so beautifully ingrained within Islam. And there are so many traditions that talk about even Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he spends sacred time, like time just before he's about to face his Lord, that he spends that time just being peaceful, just being present. And that is a very beautiful thing to have. And I think that we all need to exercise more of that. So it's just about giving yourself permission to say, I'm just going to take a few steps back. I'm going to use my breathing, which is your powerhouse, by the way, and just take a few deep breaths and realign with myself, ground myself so that I know where I am, and make a very conscious decision about what I'm getting involved with and what I'm stepping out away from. So it just puts you in that really good mindset. And meditation has helped me immensely when it comes to my own inner peace. The other thing that is incorporated within my morning routine is exercise. And I don't mean, I'm by no means a gym goer, like heavy-handed workouts or anything like that. But I think just like 10-minute stretches or something like that, maybe Pilates or doing some kind of a yoga, has really, really helped me kind of unwind and take the cranks out and just feel easy for the rest of the day. So that's just another practical thing that I think is really, really helpful. One of the important things that I've done, and it's taken a lot of time, so it's not something that you can have within 10 minutes, but it is something that you definitely need to put your mind to, is having a very clear vision of life. It's about finding purpose, and it's about kind of going on your journey in your direction, knowing where you are headed. So you're not kind of doing one thing one day and completely contrary thing the other day and then jumping back to this. So it's just kind of hopping here and there, but really having a very clear plan of what am I doing in the next 6 months? What am I doing in the next 12 months? What am I doing in the next 5 years? And what am I doing in the next 10 years? Where am I headed? And it just gives you a really good North Star, because what happens is when you have this vision and when you have clarity and when you have purpose, is that every time you come to making a decision, it's click of a finger. You can literally ask yourself one question. And that question is the thing I'm about to do in alignment with my vision? If it is, tick in the box and you go ahead all in and you do it. And if it's not, you drop it. So it just gives you an easy way to kind of have that sense of knowing what it is that you're trying to do. The other thing that I came across, which I found so beautiful, which some of you may think a little bit of, not exactly controversial, but it's a different practice. It's not an Islamic practice, but I found it so beautiful that I do incorporate this within my life, and maybe it's something that you can look into. It's a Hawaiian practice called Ho'oponopono, and I loved it so much that I actually became certified in it. And what this is it's a way to connect with the divine. And it's so simple that it has 4 sentences, very simple 4 sentences. And it does relate to Islam as well, because we have all of these sentences too. And we do a lot of tasbihat of these words. But it is basically speaking to your Lord at any point. You could be driving, you could be washing the pots, you could be changing your kids, or whatever it is you're doing. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And literally those words, just wherever you are in the midst of like the chaos that might be going on up here, it just brings you right back down to earth, and it reconnects you to the one who gave you everything you have. So it's just that, it just incorporates the gratitude and just the love that Sister Fiza was referring to just now. And the fact that I'm sorry for just being unconscious. I'm sorry for that disconnect that I had in between. I'm sorry for allowing the chaos to take over and not know that you're still over me It doesn't matter what's happening. So that I found a very, very beautiful thing. And I often do a lot of meditations to do with Ho'oponopono, which has really, really helped me. So if you want to look into that, please do. And one of the other things, and this is literally like the biggest nugget. So if you take nothing else from my speech, please take this away. So I want your focus in just these couple of minutes that I'm going to talk about something that is hugely important to me, and you'll see why. So we all have a reserve of energy. Every single day we've been given this pocket of energy, and that's our energy to use for the rest of the day until we sleep again and we get revived. And this energy, I call it sacred energy. You know, whenever I'm speaking to any family, friends, whoever knows me well enough, they will have heard this word from me. My energy is sacred. And what I mean by that is that there is so much going on. We live in a hugely fast-paced world right now. Everything is just bam, bam, bam. It's just happening all of the times. And it's just so hard to stop and regain. It's so hard. If we're not conscious, we can get wrapped into that so easily and without really realizing how far we've gone. So it's really important to reserve your energy and use it very, very carefully. So I am in a position where I get to choose, who do I want to invest my energy into today? Who am I sharing my energy to? And this is very, very important. It's going to probably make me feel, come across a little bit selfish, but I'll explain to you why it's not selfish. And then I'm going to reconnect that back to my first point, which I made. So because there is only so much of the energy you have, it's really important for you to be aware of where you're using it. And I've heard this phrase, and I'm sure all of you will have had this heard this phrase called, you can't pour from an empty cup. And I don't agree with that. And I say, you can't even pour from a full cup. Your full cup is yours. Your full cup is not to be shared, because if your full cup is being tapped into, that means you're now lacking. And so when you give, you never give full. You're only giving part. So you only give from overflow. You only give from what's falling out of you. So at all points, you should have this fullness right up to here, where you're just like, I can breathe. I'm in a good place. I've got it together. I know what's happening. And that's not to say that you don't have bad days, because trust me, we have bad days. But what happens is it makes you emotionally very, very intelligent. It makes you stop and think in your tracks and think, do I want to get in there? Do I want to invest my energy? Do I want to waste it? So you're in a very good position to be able to stop, reflect, decide, and then commit or not. So that to me is a very, very important thing to know. And when I was thinking about this morning, what am I going to talk about? I thought that if there is anything that I'm really going to ask you to take away from particularly my speech, it would be this thing, that we as women are givers naturally. It's something that innately Allah has blessed us with. We just give. And when we're in the midst of giving, we forget that we need to take some as well. And we don't have that ability to ask for it. So it's just to give you this thought process to say you don't always have to give. It is completely okay to say no, and you are still a good person. That doesn't make you a nasty person at all. And that is something that you need to keep in mind. I have a lot of clients that I work with, and obviously when you're working with a client, they have made an investment, and sometimes clients can send you messages that are coming to you maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe, first thing in the morning, and you're maybe on your off day. And I have a very strict structure of how I work. So there are certain days that I don't work, and at that time, I won't even touch my laptop. When I'm working, I am really working. And so what that means is that when I'm speaking to clients outside of the sessions, and if I feel like now my energy is being drained, I will stop the conversation there and then, and I will come back to it when I'm okay to have that conversation, because I'm only giving from when I'm overflowing. I never give from my full, because my full is from me. Because if I give from my full, my family, my children, my parents, my immediate circle is going to suffer. And most of all, I'm going to suffer. And the reason this is important is when you are giving, when you do give from like your own full, you're not giving your full. you're not there, you're not present fully, you're not giving from your soul and your spirit. So when I come back to this person that I've stepped away from for a little bit just to regain my own sense of self, I know that when I go back, it's going to be so sincere, it's going to be so on point that there's not any form of, not resentment, that's a very harsh word, but I mean, not any form of kind of, I really wouldn't rather be doing this. Do you see what I mean? So there's none of that. So when I'm having that conversation, I know that I'm fully there. And that's really, really important. And a lot of that is connected with your sacred energy. How I'm going to connect this back to the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam and the fact that we as a community are together, we have to have this unity between us, is that when we're thinking about our energy and when we are thinking about how do we give ourselves to the rest of the world, like anything that we do, you've got to think that within this pocket of energy that you have, you can segment it in a way just like Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam did as well. There was always a part for the community. There was always a part that went wider beyond yourself, your immediate family, your immediate circle and extended family and stuff. And then it went into beyond that as well. So we all need to be a little bit more mindful of that. And when we're interacting with the community, we have to have this in our mind that we're not giving from a place of competition. We're not giving from the place of resentment. We're not giving from the place of hatred or, whatever's going on in our minds. Is that we've took the time to reflect, what are we doing and is it sincere? If it's sincere, then everything you do from the moment you wake up, using your own sacred hour and your own sacred energy, becomes ibadah because it is sincere and you have always the niyyah of qurbatan ilallah. So with that, I know that I might have gone a couple of minutes over. Please do forgive me, Sister Nosheen. But overall, what I'm saying is the spirituality aspect is important, but you don't have to spend hours and hours on your prayer mat. And I learned this the hard way. That everything you do is salah. Everything you do is ibadah. So you can just make that niyyah, clarify yourself, be sincere, be focused, and be fully in whatever you're doing. And with that, I will now pass on to Sister Nosheen. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Sister Uzma. What you mentioned is definitely an effective form of self-care. Just hearing you talk about meditation gave me a sense of peace. So inshallah, I can imagine if we implement this in our daily routine, how it can benefit us. And I really appreciated how you highlighted the connection to our faith and religious traditions. Thank you so much. And next, we have our third speaker, who is Zakira Shairoz Dhalla. Sister Shairoz holds a master's degree in education from York University in Canada and has studied at Hausa in Qom. She has recited majalis all over the world in Urdu, English, and Gujarati, as well as many lectures at interfaith gatherings. She is a published freelance writer, playwright, motivational speaker, and anti-racist educational counselor, and conducts workshops on race and cultural sensitivity. She often appears on TV program panels and radio talk shows to speak on race relations. She has been nominated for and has received multiple awards for her work, including the Woman of Wonder Award from ICNA, and is actively involved in her community in Canada and globally. Sister Shairoz regularly appears on TV to speak on Islam on various channels, including Ahlul Bayt TV, Khadija channel, as well as the official channel for the Holy Shrine of Imam Raza alayhi salam, and on several channels in the Middle East managed by the Zahra Trust. She is married to a family physician and is a mother of 3, and hopes to pursue her PhD and work on writing a book in the near future. Today, she will be giving a talk fittingly entitled The Superwoman Syndrome and the Pursuit of Happiness. Zakira Shairoz.
Jazakallah khair for that very kind introduction. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. And truly a delight and an honor to be with such distinguished company here, to be with all these accomplished leaders in our community. I'm so proud of you all. And I wish we could have a coffee together and really chat. We have so much to share, really. And I love your smiles and your encouragement, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. To my co-speakers here today, as well as all of you who are watching us from all over the world. Having you here is making us feel that there are people out there who want to empower us even more, and who want to support us, and who want to learn more. God bless you all. And I'm so excited also to see relatives watching. I'm hoping my husband is listening and my children as well, because there's so many things I want to share here today that I wish I could. A lot of people ask me this particular question on TV as well about, how do you do it all? How do you juggle all this? And the answer is a very long answer. So I'm hoping today that I'll get a chance to answer it in detail a little bit. But I think the answer in a nutshell, in addition to what I'm about to explain about right now, is I can only do this because God makes this possible. Sometimes when I hear my own biography, I hear my own introduction being said, I'm like, is that me they're talking about? Sometimes when I'm working on my own resume to apply for something, I say, Subhanallah, like Allah has blessed me so much. How dare I ever feel bad about not doing this and doing that when I have been able to do so much? So it's so important that we pat each other on the back and also pat ourselves, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you made this happen. Thank you. But you're patting yourself by being grateful to God. It's not an arrogance kind of thing where you're, I'm all that. But wow, Allah, you made me all that. So there's no way I could do this without the help of God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed it. And the amount of time that grows in my day is just incredible. Like, how does it happen? I can get so much done in such a small pocket of time. This is nothing short of a mu'jiza. It's a miracle, absolutely. And we are working for Imam Zamana, Ajalallahu ta'ala farajahum sharif, and that is why it happens, because we're his workers, inshallah. The other thing is, cannot do all this without family and friends. Family is there to support you emotionally, often just to say, wow, we're proud of you. And so for all the men who are listening and women who are relatives of people who are doing amazing things in this world, say, I'm proud of you. Say, you are amazing. Say, I understand why you're tired. You should be tired. Get some rest. I'll handle this. You take a break. Because when your own people appreciate you and sympathize and empathize, you can conquer the world. It makes you truly super. And it makes a bounce come in your step. You're going to do this anyway, but there is a different kind of bounce that comes in the step of a person who's supported. And the smiles that you see on the face of certain people, someone out there is, in addition to God, being an ambassador for that person to do that work. That behind every great woman are many great women who are helping them, and many great men who are supporting them. So today I want to talk about this superwoman syndrome and what it can mean, so that we can have a sense of awareness, so that we can support the people in our world. You could be super yourself and support other super people, and you can understand what they're going through by this awareness. Also, suppose we are one of these people. Maybe it'll open our eyes that, hey, I'm trying to do too much and I am super. Wow. Because you know what? The world can tell you you're super, but until you don't believe it, you're not really super, because you're not letting yourself feel it. All right. So superwoman. The term superwoman was coined by an author, actually, and this was in 1984. She wrote a book, and then it hit everywhere. It went viral in the 80s, right? And so it was about women trying to do it all and how to decide what's important in your life and to do it well. And the thing is, it was the first time that women were suddenly so educated and having so many opportunities. If you look at this sociologically, and that's not our topic right now, but so much happened where women could plan families. They could also space their children out, because things became available out there now that you could space your children out. You had access to education, the employment opportunities, affirmative action, all sorts of amazing things happened, including amazing men who said, I want an intelligent woman as a daughter, as a sister, as a wife. So the opportunities were amazing. And what happened with that is that women today, with so many opportunities, became women who were trying to juggle so many things now. And so what was happening? They were trying to have this healthy balance, which is exactly what we're talking about today. We've got marriage, parenting, career, your home. Oh my God, the home is a 24-hour job. Cleaning, cooking, yard work, shoveling, recycling, compost, gardening, family time. And then there's the religious part where we have to commemorate and we have to have the rituals of in the family and bring spirituality. In the pandemic, we've realized, wow, you know, how important that we are, because we're in the home. Everyone's really noticing what we're doing. And this whole thing about this, you know, outward appearance thing right now too, right? Now you have to look good. You have to be perfect. Even how you look has to be absolutely incredible. And even the pictures you post have to be filtered, and you have to have now likes, and there's so much that needs to get done. Fitness and nutrition, caregiving to an aging parent, social life. You also have to be so well-rounded that you have to have friends, and you have to have all this other stuff going on. You're not just working. You also have like 1 million friends who love you. You have to also be studying, also building skills as you go along, and hobbies too. What do you do in your spare time? Spare time? Seriously? But yeah, you're supposed to also, because you're a superwoman, have hobbies too. Volunteering. And by the way, the amount of volunteering I do is not listed in my biography, but alhamdulillah, how much I do, whether it's in the ghusl and kafan department, especially with the pandemic, I've been doing this. Doing my speeches, also doing that and coming back. Over the last 15 years, I have written plays, I have directed them, I have acted in them, I have done puppet shows, I have, you know, live things for the community, done so much that's a 24-hour job too. Extended family relationships. Now you got to take care of in-laws, etc. Self-care and relaxation also is one of the things that we have to balance. So if you look at a normal life, and then this is what normal life is. Normal life happens. It's full of challenges, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised us, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبَدٍ. We have made a human being in a state of stress. So you've got marriage issues. That doesn't mean divorce. It just means the regular conflict. You threw your socks here. How could you say that to me? You didn't support me. All that stuff can create a crisis in minutes in a marriage. Parenting issues. If you have a child with learning disability or behavioral problems, school calling you all the time, or God forbid, bad friends, substance abuse, eating disorders, that's a 24-hour job. And then you've got this other part of your life which you love to do, which is your career, which is your, you know, the other thing that everyone says, though, that's not you. That should be put aside. What you should be doing just is marriage and parenting. Add to this the physical illness that could happen with a loved one or yourself, God forbid, right? So you've got mental illness, psychological, cancer, God forbid, coronavirus right now. There's all sorts of stuff going on in your life. Extended family conflicts. Now you got the family drama going on. Financial difficulties, politics in the workplace, pregnancy and hormonal phases in a woman's life. This is real. It's true. But we're not supposed to have that because we're perfect. You cannot be going through a bad, it's such a bad day. It's just a bad hair day. Forget that. But you're not even allowed to have just a bad emotional day. Exhaustion, burnout, deficiencies. And that is vitamin deficiencies, all the other stuff that can go on with not taking care of ourselves. So, and this has been said that, before the coronavirus, we were already working a double shift. We were working and then we were also balancing the family's needs at home. Now that we're working at home, it's a double shift where you're also working while you are balancing your kids' online classes, caring for the sick, the relatives, the housework, etc., etc. So that's where the syndrome comes in. You can be a superwoman. SubhanAllah, every woman is a superwoman. No wonder heaven is under their feet. But it becomes a syndrome when you are stressed about it and you didn't choose to be stressed about it. It's a range of physical, psychological, interpersonal stress symptoms experienced by a woman who attempts to perform perfectly in multiple or conflicting roles or goes overboard in one role. Imbalance. So the superwoman syndrome is, it's a set of characteristics. You find this in a woman who wants to perform all the duties with several different full-time roles, such as wage earner, mother, homemaker, and wife. And what's interesting is all of us, subhanAllah, Allah has blessed us so much. And some of us have taken it even further and made those blessings that each of us has to a higher level. When you do it at a higher level, what happens is you're really good at everything, mashallah. So it's not that you cannot be a great cook and a homeschooling mom and a perfect, corporate lawyer, etc. You can do it all. It's just that there's just one of you. And you want to do it perfectly in all those roles. What happens then? That's when the stress comes in. So if you recognize this in yourself or in others, the irritability, right? The inability to concentrate because your mind is multitasking. But as soon as you start to tune out a little, people around you get upset. You're not paying attention. I'm talking, you're not looking at me. Oh, you're thinking about something else. Your eyes are looking elsewhere because you're looking at something that could fall. Oh, this is a mess. Because we can multitask, but people do not allow us to multitask often. They want 100% attention. That's the stress. Where people who are our loved ones want to pull us in different places. And then when they're with you, they also want you to give them everything. But mashallah, Allah has given us the ability to make every person feel like they're the only one in the room. We do have that skill. If only people allowed us to juggle. When you find somebody tuning out a little, give them time to come back. Don't we tune out in our salah, God forbid, but it happens. But as soon as we realize, we come back. And when we come back, that's the part that matters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives too, right? Be forgiving in people's lives as well. Having memory problems, mood swings, thinking about negative things all the time, emotional outbursts, indecisiveness, lack of a sense of humor. Now you can't even laugh. You take things and then you get blamed for having a chip on your shoulder. But when you realize how much we do, it makes sense. It's okay to go through all this. This is not a bad thing. This is just a symptom of a person who is struggling. When we see it in our children, we're like, oh, honey, you need to relax. This is not you. You yelling like this? No, it's because something's bothering you, right? We have that nurturant thing where we reach out to people. But when we are acting like this ourselves, people might not give us that same nurturance. But let's do it for ourselves and say, you know what, honey, self-care time. Who are you? And it's okay. Let's get through this. We can talk to yourself. Because nobody sometimes will. Physical symptoms, the muscle tension, the stomach aches, the muscle spasm. When we see this in our loved ones, we easily know this is a psychosomatic issue. You are stressed. That's why you're feeling this. There's butterflies in the stomach. If we have jobs that require us to speak in public, and also worry about all the haters out there and the trolls and the negativity and the competition and the people who think that they're in a race with you when you didn't even know that there was a race. Hello, we're all in this together. All that stuff. Of course you're going to have butterflies. But no, superwomen are not supposed to have even stress like that. Why should you be nervous? Why should you be scared of those 2 people who don't like you? You have a million who like you. But that's human nature. And if you are with someone who's doing all this, be that person who says you're under a tremendous amount of pressure. This is normal. I hear you, I feel for you, and I love you. That's all you need sometimes. We women, it takes so little. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compares himself to only one entity, it's to my mother, right? Because no one else, Allah says, is like God, right? But a mother, 70 times more. Right? When a mother is so easily pleased. Remember, this is the Sarir, the one who is easily pleased. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes very little to please him. Mothers, wives, women, it takes very little. Seriously, one hug can make that woman go through a whole week of good work. But one hug is not enough. It runs out. One just looking in the eyes and saying, God, you're so beautiful. Even though her hair is having a bad hair day, but you're saying, I see the beauty in you. One such uplifting sentence can make a woman move mountains. Believe it. Unable to sleep, shortness of breath. Rather than blaming a woman for, oh, you're taking too much on. See, now you've got all this going on. Saying, you're doing an amazing amount of work. Wow. Let me make it better so you can do more of the stuff that you do. Rather than saying, give it up. Saying, do more. I want you to shine. Let me take over some of this other stuff that's building in you. So what happens? We can get ulcers. We can get a lot of awful stuff that hits the body. That's called psychosomatic illnesses. And the thing about this is it can create long-term issues. Person can look fine and suddenly they crash, heart attack, high blood pressure. And we're like, wow, everything's going wrong in you. What's happened? This took years of hard work. And look at the unhealthy coping patterns. It's not just overeating to fill that void in you, but to get an endorphin rush. But it's also because you had no time to make a salad. So you took whatever was fried and easy to eat. Because no one cooks for you. You cook for others. No one makes you breakfast. You make others breakfast. I have so many days when I make 5 breakfasts, for 5 people in my home and 5 lunches. And then it's 1 or 2 p.m. and I realize I haven't had breakfast or made a lunch and I'm not going to. Not because I'm dieting, because I'm not caring about myself enough that I too. And it requires good, loving people in your life who remind you. And I've got those now, alhamdulillah, who will mention to me, hey, take your vitamin today. Have you had something to eat? Stop right now. Whatever you're doing, go get something to eat. Order something. Be nice to ourselves, shutting down and burning out. This is the thing that happens. And now this thing, the constant guilt. In addition to all the other stuff, that I am not good enough. I'm not good enough because I chose work and I love it more than my kids. I love my kids more. And I've chosen to stay at home and not be a lawyer anymore. The guilt. Oh, I love being out and not coming home. I love the chaos in my house because it's okay. I don't need to have a perfect home. But no, that should make you feel awful. You're a terrible woman. You like your house like this? You terrible woman. You don't have time for everybody. Oh, you're too busy, too tired. You shouldn't be tired. Wow, you're not on top of things. You let that fall. You let that ball, like you were juggling all this, but how could you forget is what a lot of people would say to you. And I'm not saying all this because this is all happening to me, please. One of the things about being speakers is when you post something, people are like, oh, poor you. Who's been bad to you? No, we're in the business of hearing people's life stories. And we know about 1 million women who are feeling all this. So I, alhamdulillah, could not have come this far if I had all sorts of this stuff happening in my life, but it does at some point or other. This thing about being tired, I find that I work extra hard to not look tired from my family, because as soon as my husband or my kids realize I've been tired because I was doing stuff out there, they feel hurt. They're like, oh, now you're drained. You have nothing for us. So when I'm driving home after speaking in front of a crowd of sometimes 1,000 people, subhanallah, that's a draining experience. Or at a live procession of thousands, alhamdulillah, I've done that too. I've come home cooking a brilliant meal, like a 5-course meal, and just putting that extra bounce in my step so that I cannot be blamed for being tired. And that's unfair. That's unfair to the good, amazing women in our lives. And if you are a fellow woman in that home, whether you're a mother-in-law or a sister-in-law or a sister, child, be kind. So why does this happen? Common thinking that leads to feeling stressed. One of the things, I will relax and reward myself when I've earned it. That's never going to happen because housework, nothing stops. You will never find a time to reward yourself. Another one, if I want something done right, I'll have to do it myself. So what do? We say, no, don't vacuum. I'll do it because you're not going to go behind the sofa. You're not going to, hello, is it important to even go behind the sofa? Is it important? I mean, you look at these commercials of these people who are scrubbing their, shower door, and you're like, get a life. But they make this the thing that you've got to have all these products, and good people, good housewives should be scrubbing till that thing turned black and blue and your body. Like, hello, who says it has to be that clean? And then I hate nagging people to do things, so I'm going to do it all myself. Or what use am I if I don't do the things that a mom should be doing? Or no one will do the things I allocate and delegate anyway, so I'm not going to even hope and make lists. And that's cruelty to yourself. And it's impossible to change these old-fashioned thinking and forget it, I'll just keep doing it. No, then we are perpetuating it. So other ways that we may be spreading ourselves too thin, the inability to say no. We want to say yes, actually. It's not that we're like, oh, I couldn't. It's actually we get excited about a million things. So we want to do it all. And we know we could. Give us 5 extra minutes of life and we could do like something that would take hours for someone. But we have to be able to say, it's full. The schedule is full. I mean, I sometimes speak 3, 4, 5 lectures a day at home because of the pandemic, I'm accessible. I would have had to fly to 5 places. Now people are like, you're home, so do it for us. And I can't say no because I am home. And I could cook in 10 minutes, so it's okay. And I can, but it's not right to do that to myself. And I've got to learn to say no. Not knowing how to set boundaries with the people who are helping because we're accessible to them all the time. Unrealistic standards of perfection. Not allowing ourselves to celebrate achievements. As soon as somebody says, wow, you're awesome, we're like, no, I'm nothing. There's a difference between self-esteem and being, modest, and also just hating yourself and saying, no, I could be more, I could be more, I could be more. There's a huge difference. Refusing to be kind to oneself, isolating oneself from all support systems because you just didn't have time to build on those relationships. Now there's no one to bail you out. Not accepting help. There are people who are loving you, wanting to cook for you, wanting to watch your kids for you, wanting to do something, anything. But no, we're too good, too strong. We cannot accept help. It makes us feel terrible when somebody does anything for us. Consistently sacrificing. I am out of time, but I want to just cover a couple of things before I end because I really, really wanted to get to these things. Inshallah, maybe in the question answer time, if I have a whole bunch of tips on what I've been doing in order to stay afloat and in order to really have 10 arms and 10 heads and all of me like cloning myself really. So I am doing it, and there are tips which I just couldn't get to, but I think this part is so important because we need to recognize this in the loved ones of our lives who are super people, and everyone's super, doing super things. Really, everyone's extraordinary. So this thing that we do, negative self-defeating thinking, the victim mentality, the loneliness that we impose on ourselves, not sharing our overwhelming feelings because people will know we're real, we're human. Fear of sounding ungrateful because we have no right to feel overextended. People are dying for our job. They want this life. And here we are saying, I can't do it. I'm exhausted. So you're not even allowed to say, I want a break. Feeling unappreciated, unrewarded, and uncelebrated. That one's a killer. That will demotivate the super woman that can be out there. Don't do this to the people in your lives. So the good news is that the multiple roles can be juggled. Millions of women have learned from experience. Help is available. Time management can be learned. And Every one of us is a work in progress. We're all learning. Things that I did then, I don't do anymore because I'm like, that was bad. Things that I'm like, I'm learning a lot. And some of the things I did before, I don't need to do anymore because now my kids are older, but I did do them. God knows the amazing things I did. And in the short, I'm just going to take 2 minutes more, inshallah, if Allah gives me, if of course, the organizers as well as Allah gives me barakah of time. Make lists, not only of things to do, but make a list of things on my mind. Things on my mind that someone is this, someone, like the emotional stuff. This is called journaling. We don't have time for journaling or reflection anymore. So make lists. Things that are bothering me, things I'm afraid of, things I wish I could be doing right now, things that are urgent. I need to do this. Circle it, underline it so that it becomes alive in your mind. Don't carry it all up here. As soon as you write it down, it's out of you. Things that are stressing me out. Make a list of priorities. Things I want to do, things I must do, things I cannot realistically do right now, right? Things that I really need to do. Okay, preempt and conquer. For all my British fellow speakers here, the divide and conquer thing. Well, this is the preempt. Do it before it becomes a huge problem. Brainstorm. What will create chaos? Like, this is going to fall apart if I don't do this. One of the things I find, what's earth shattering? My hungry kids are going to come home and I will have no food for them. That's for me an earth shattering issue. That's chaos, not what I'll speak about. So I know my heart is about what I'll speak about, and that's what I want to do. But that earth shattering issue, if I don't solve it, people will starve, right? So, I just gonna 1 more minute, pre-cook the food, cook the meats and the dals, the lentils, these things that take long. Invest in really good freezing bags. I do this a lot. And then I organize my freezer in such a way that they're flat things. So you take one out. It's not like in a bunch. I have meat all piled up on top of each other, flat frozen bags. And I also used to do this a lot. I used to cook for the entire 2 weeks. I would be traveling for Muharram, for example, and I would have day 1, day 2, day 3, and I would put timers on people that, take this out, defrost it, make sure you have some pita bread to go with this, etc. Like I used to micromanage the meals. Now everyone's older, but it still is an issue. Also, you can actually do the sautéing part and the masala and everything, and freeze just that. The liquid, freeze it. So as soon as you want to cook, you defrost that thing, put it in, and then you add the frozen meats that you had, which you defrosted, and you can cook up a curry in seconds. Believe me, it happens. Emergency food ideas, teaching children how to make something, anything to keep alive. I just tell them, keep alive, and I'll be there soon. And so they do the keep alive thing. And also, keeping the cut fruits and vegetables for snacking, always keeping that over like in a sandwich bag in the fridge, so that when starving people are there, you keep some vegetables, cut celery sticks, it's all there. Nuts and platters and snacks on the dinner table and on the coffee table. That's very important. And this freezing thing, freeze this stuff. And inshallah, in the question and answer time, if there is time, then I will cover other tips, which I have a billion of, because I don't want to take any more time from our distinguished speakers. So I've got a lot of other stuff to share, and inshallah, maybe we'll do this again sometime so that we can talk about all these other tips. I didn't want to just end with, the problem, but also say there's so much to do. This was just about the food, but there's all the other stuff that I do, whether it's about laundry, about planning the week, about having family meetings, and also how I travel a lot, and I do pack a month in advance. I have it all done, and I make those big Ziploc bags. I put my abaya, the scarf, all that stuff that I'm going to wear, day 1, day 2, day 3, I have them all ready before I travel, so that I can get ready early in the morning for my speaking engagement. And that's why sometimes I can give 4 lectures at 4 different places, and I can change so that I can look different at every event. That's another thing we do, having to, look good and accessorize and all that, because our jobs do require us to look very professional when we're out there. But mashallah, more power to all of these amazing women on the panel and all those who are watching right now. We want to hear from a lot of women in the future as well. And we hope we're going to do more of these events. And do write your comments in the live chat. Send them to us, and so that our speaker, our host can mention them. Not just questions, but comments, things that you really want to hear more about, so that we can do more of these in the future. And also, by the way, I'm co-organizing a conference, a full-day conference with the Toronto Jamaat, and so that we can do a whole day of these kinds of topics. So we're going to be doing this as well. It's on February 6th. So save the date, and inshallah, watch my page. I'm going to be organizing this with a bunch of amazing women and men, and we're going to be having a lot of such topics that we're going to be covering. So look out for that one. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
SubhanAllah, thank you so much, Zakira Shairoz, for that talk. And I do appreciate that you didn't end with problems, but more with solutions for us. You did a fantastic job really identifying the difficulties that women face, especially people like yourself and the rest of our speakers who are busy taking care of not only yourself and your own families, but the whole community by constantly educating us. May Allah bless you all. And thank you so much for your pertinent speech. I do want to remind our audience, as Zakira Shairoz just did, that if you have a question or comments for our panelists, please put them in the YouTube chat, and inshallah we'll have a Q&A session at the end. Now I'd like to introduce our next speaker. We have Sister Fahima Muhammad. Sister Fahima graduated with a business management degree and worked in a law firm. She later became a qualified life coach and certified NLP practitioner. She's also certified in mindfulness, existential, and positive psychology, and is a group and facilitation coach for companies, as well as a relationship and couples coach. She has produced on several TV channels, including Ahl Bayt TV and Imam Hussein TV with her own show, and appeared on several more. She recently hosted her own weekly show called Single Muslim Live on British Muslim TV. Fahima has tackled many topics, including controversial subjects like divorce, temporary marriage, intimacy in marriage, and violence in a relationship. She has recently discussed the challenges of finding a partner during lockdown on many mainstream media outlets, such as Metro Lifestyle, The Herald, BBC News, and many more. Her talk today is entitled Evolution and Challenges in a Relationship. Sister Fahima.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, again, like everybody else has said, to the organizers to give us a platform to speak. And the organizers also do include men that support this and provide the space. So I want to acknowledge that and thank you so much. And for everybody that's watching, it's an absolute pleasure to be sitting amongst so many amazing women. I'm very, very new to this, but in a very short space of time, I've actually managed to accomplish a lot. But I cannot speak for the years of experience that is sitting on this panel. I'm new to the scene only in just the last 4 years, and what I've accomplished in those 4 years, even I can't really understand how that's possible. So I really do resonate and relate to everyone that has spoken. And maybe I should have gone first because I think you've taken all my talks. But anyway, I think we all have a different angle. And even if we say similar things, we have a different lens. And I think it's really important that we all have, our perspective to share. And studying what I have and being qualified and understanding human mind and behavior, which I continuously do, even now going into neuroscience and understanding the way in which our brain works to coincide and sort of elevate the fact that whatever we're talking about, it actually is it actually possible? Is it an actual function in our brain? Because as much as we can think the way we think, is it even a possibility in the actual brain? And remember, the brain and the mind are two different things, which we don't even consider. So yes, we're talking about relationships and how it has evolved. I do have a branch of clients that come to me on various issues. And the thing is, I've kind of certified myself in these ways. Well, I have been certified in many areas so that I could deal with challenges from humans, regardless of whatever it may be. And what I did find, though, that a lot of people that come to me, even if they're coming to me as an entrepreneur with their business issues, that it always leads to relationships. And it's, you know, a lot of us do give advice on relationships. And I also gather that it is good to have experience with relationships. But when you come from a psychological point of view and learning, then and especially if you've come from challenge and you've overcome that challenge, but that doesn't necessarily make you realistically understand. You have probably gone through something, and if someone came to you for guidance, you're going to project what was going on for you, and, you know, sort of have your values on everybody else. But if you're coming from a professional point of view, then you are actually allowing the space for the other person to actually speak. And regardless if that matches your values, you're going to actually help them according to their values. So I don't just have people come to me from our community. I like to represent even outside the community, and spoken and been in platforms and institutes in companies that are, you know, from various backgrounds, in schools from various backgrounds, and I coach from various backgrounds as well. So that's really important, that we have to understand, even if we are Muslim, if we come from a particular sect, if we are coming from a different background or whatever it may be, it shouldn't really matter. We shouldn't just stick to our own, because as we know, yes, of course, our influences does have a huge difference on us, but the more we are open to learning from people that are not from our background, don't speak the same language, haven't got the same age and experience as us, then that brings us a totally different human being. You don't even have to travel the world, because I know people that go around the world traveling. Honestly, they come back, but they go to the same spots. They go to the same comfort zones that they used to at home. So that travel does not really open up their mind. So you can be at home and speak to a different array of people, and that can give you a worldly view, more than even if you were to travel and go to places that you would only see that you know, the same as home, or the luxuries. So relationships have evolved over the last, I would say, studying it, looking at it over the way in which people have spoken in the last 20 years, a lot, and especially for women. I think that we are more vocal, and we have placed ourselves in, you know, more responsibility, especially as everybody else has obviously said that, you know, we are taking on careers and doing lots of things and juggling. And remember, as much as we juggle, our brain cannot juggle. It actually damages us. We only can do one thing at a time. So we need to be really careful how we choose what we do and focus on. As much as we're saying these things, it actually damages our brain. And remember, even the fact that we are making decisions from a young age, and we are told to make decisions from a young age, our brain, which is basically the decision-making sort of the prefrontal cortex, which is here, is actually only developed at the age of 25. Not to say that without experience and people around you for support cannot give you those crucial decision-making sort of processes. But just remember, when your brain is only developed fully at the age of 25, now you can understand why a teenager feels a particular way. There are different stages and development processes, or even when we talk about, you know, certain people that just click at a certain age, or they have an understanding, it all kind of, you know, goes into that way of being. So studying, you know, life coaching and NLP, trying to help people change their habits, understand their internal dialogue, change that kind of way of having these limiting beliefs and assumptions. These are all coinciding with what everybody has said. And it's absolutely amazing that we have the space to actually say this so that we can have better relationships. We also feel that we are controlled by our environment. And then we have to understand the locus of control. The locus of control is you thinking that your environment sort of controls your life, like we are in a pandemic right now, or an economic crisis. Or the locus of control says, are you the kind of person that takes control yourself of the situation by the way in which you view things? I'll give you an example. I've used this plenty of times. But for example, now that we are probably in certain areas, or majority of areas, particularly the hospitality, is they're facing a crisis in the economy, in their businesses. So one person would be thinking, this is it for me. I cannot function. This is it. The economy is gone. But then the other person with the same situation, same scenario, will be like, well, I need to be a little bit smarter. And I need to basically come up with different ideas and innovate and create. Now you see the same situation, depending on two different mindsets, will create your outcome. And it's the same with relationships. And I'm a relationship and couples coach, okay? So relationships are what we have with each other, our divine, our colleagues, our friends, our family members, and couples, obviously, in a romantic sense. So there is a difference. And with relationship and couples coaching, it doesn't just come because you are at a detrimental stage. I have given many premarital workshops so that couples that come to me, or individuals that are now considering to become in a partnership, and they're like, I've had my, studies, I've finished my career, I'm quite satisfied. Now I want to look for a partner. Where do I start? So I'm like, okay, I've got a few models, I've got a few tools. Let's just sit and discuss. And these tools can be used for people that are looking for marriage, already in a marriage, or actually even a lot of couples that are considering even exiting their, relationship. And it's important to still seek that kind of guidance. I have the tools and strategies and techniques, and I wish I had the time to share with you all of them, but unfortunately that would be for another time. I'm just highlighting that it is really important that we do seek professional advice. We do come to people, and one thing I love about coaching, it is there for everyday people with everyday challenges. And people are obviously misunderstanding what it stands for, and maybe not even educated themselves. We can be professional, and we can have the labels, and we can have all the status that we can, and we can perform in front of an audience. But you know what? The times that what you do behind the screens and how you interact with each other, that is something that I feel really projects the true self, because we have the projected self and the true self, and we can all come up showing absolutely amazing and say the most classical, intellectual, eloquent speeches. But you know what? The real individual is the intention, and that intention is your heart, your mind, and it shows in your actions and your behavior. And that is not even what you will say about you. It's about what other people will talk about you behind your back. And if you are a kind of person who is there to empower others and to lift others and to feel that need and sense of supporting others, regardless of the stage that you're at or the journey you're at, then that brings a totally different amount of opportunity. Like I'm sitting here today, not even knowing that I had this opportunity. And subhanAllah, every week is almost the same for me. I don't even have to go searching for work. I'm freelance. I do, shows on different channels. I do many things, even behind the scenes, with coaching my clients and companies and collaborating with so many different people from around the world now. And the thing is, it's because you have to have the trust, the tawakkul, which we do not have. Because yes, we have to have those plans, those visions, and we need to set ourselves in a particular way where we are, investing in that blueprint. But that blueprint isn't necessarily the way in which your life will turn out. And we're not taught how to cope with failure. And in NLP, we have these presuppositions, and one of them is these assumptions that we make, which actually limit us. And a lot of people are afraid of failure, when actually failure can be assumed as feedback. And if you were to teach that even to a child from a young age, it would be a totally different, experience for the entire future. So that even if they fail, it would not spiral downwards. They will still get up and move. They will still be motivated and driven because they have a different way of thinking. The assumption is not that failure is that you're not good enough. I'm like, you need to make as many mistakes as you can in life in order to learn and grow. So when, you have these kinds of ways of thinking, it really does change your life. And in relationships, we are obviously bombarded by social media. We are bombarded by people, having access to certain things, and we can blame that. But I always use everything to an advantage, and there's a positive, and you can flip the script whenever you want from a negative to a positive, depending how you have trained and, created that habit for the way in which you think. It's really important. In NLP, we realize this as well, that the way in which you think, the languages you use, the habits that you have are so much of a whole holistic way of being. And there are so many techniques in there in order for you to identify these things where you can get yourself out of anxiety, depression, stress, things that are, you you've done your entire life and you don't know why you're not getting the result. But very, very quickly, a lot of us can actually transform ourselves in those stages that we have been living for years. But using these techniques, we can actually move forward a lot quicker. And the thing is, we are all here for a calling if we actually create meaning and purpose in our lives. Doesn't matter what position and label we hold. We all should hold each other together, collaborate. And like everybody has said, there's no such thing as competition. There's no such thing as copying, because you are your power. Nobody is you. So if you have that belief in yourself, then the relationship you have with yourself will attract the right relationships that will collaborate with you and give you the opportunities. And the fact that you have good intentions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He opens doors. We have the key to the treasure if only we just used it. But we don't have the trust. And we need to have that trust even in our relationships. A lot of people are questioning, how is it that we're going to get married when there's so much of a divorce rate? Yes, there is a divorce rate, but even that divorces that happen, they are from layers and they are from childhood wounds that people do not really actually resolve and solve. So we as individuals have to understand when we grow up, we're growing up with a filter around us in a different sort of, conscious mindset, subconscious mindset, and there's a different frequency that we actually are operating from, which actually carries forward to adulthood. And when you study this and you understand this, then you realize I'm creating onion layers every time I am actually going and reaching a different stage in my life. And when I get to a stage where I feel comfortable or I feel a little bit, responsible as a young, or a mature teenager or a young adult, then I need to unravel those layers and make sure that whatever happened in my past, that's why self-development is so important. Whatever happens in my past, if someone, a teacher, asked me a question and I gave the wrong sort of answer and everybody laughed at me. So ever since then, I never speak up even in a boardroom up till today at the age of 30. Then these are the kind of things we need to address in ourselves and understand that we have to unwind, undo, as well as create new sort of ways of being that's going to serve us so that we can have better relationships with our colleagues, with our family, with our friends. The other thing is, when we have relationships, we pick and choose who we want to be nice to and who we don't. If we've got our cliques, we've got our circles, we like, we share, we don't even basically acknowledge the other one, or we want to put them down. But at the same time, those are the times where you're going to show your character, is when you are in relationships with people that shouldn't even like you. I deal with couples after divorce as well. And I'm like, it's not about what happened to that, situation and scenario and how you ended up divorced. It's after that divorce. How is that relationship still? Because we are still practicing Muslim, okay, even after divorce. And remember that. Okay, first and foremost. And the other thing that I say is, I'm looking out for your children first before there are even two of you. So then you have to change your way of being just by having that sort of concept in your mind as to how you treat each other even after a divorce, how you talk to each other even if you've been so badly hurt and betrayed, because those are the things that's actually going to filter into your household, your family, your friends, and most importantly, your children. People are using, children as a weapon nowadays, and it's really wrong. And it's not Islamic, it's not moral, it's not human, even if you're hurt. We know that from the models and the role models of our Ahlul Bayt and Islam in general, from the prophets. And, we have so many examples, and we say, yes, well, it was those times and, they were infallible and things like that. No. We have the tools right here, right now. It just takes you having that way of being and wanting it, because you're not going to consider yourself. Why are we here? We're here to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. First and foremost, that's what will make you a good mom. That's what will make you a good sister. That's what's going to make you a good daughter. Okay? And if we thought like that, then our relationships will be a lot better with our spouses, with anyone, not just people that you like, but you have to acknowledge and respect other people, even if we don't see eye to eye. And that is so difficult. But I work with people in order to do this, and very successfully have helped them through their challenges. And yes, we have so much pressure around us, and relationships are really, really difficult, even in the best of times. But you just cannot be good to the people who are good to you. We need to now really switch it up. If we are waiting for our imam, if we are waiting for us to receive even the blessings in life, even if we want to have better health and wealth, yes, we can have the academics, yes, we can have the knowledge. But I really know from my own experience, not having worked for years and not doing so much and literally springing up within a couple of years even, to be honest, and doing so much in such a short space of time where most people think, what you're doing, people have, worked for the last 10 years, if not more. And I haven't even had half of those years of experience because you know what? I have that connection. I have that trust. And I'm like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yes, I've got a goal. I've got everything, but you make my life happen. And when you make my life happen and I put my trust in you, the blueprint even doesn't matter. Those visions and goals are there for you to manifest and attract. But at the same time, you really need to know your true meaning and purpose in life and why you are here. Then all your decision makings and all your blessings and all your outcomes are actually going to be exactly the way it is divinely set out for you. And then even if there's mishaps, even if it doesn't work out the way you want it to, you still know that those dots are being crossed to create that picture. And sometimes, you're going to have to go through those barriers. You have to face those fires and climb those walls and mountains. But it's okay. It's because we're so used to just getting what we want. I want to create a space where people understand resilience. People understand that having something bad happen to you is actually a blessing. Having a challenge is actually a way of learning and growing. And if we were to even think and accept that first, I think that's what it is. You don't need to be motivated and driven all the time. Our brain doesn't work like that. We need to just jumpstart ourselves just for the sake of being. The fact that you've got breath in this life, in this right here, right now, you have a purpose and a meaning. You just have to make sure that you give it to yourself. That is also you taking care of yourself. If you actually trust in the fact that you are here for something, doesn't matter how big or small, you don't have to be a public speaker. Every little helps, and it creates that pyramid that you require in order for you to elevate yourself and get to the next level in life. I can go and talk forever, and I have so much more to say, but inshallah, I just gave you a highlight of what it is that we need to do as humans and be human to each other. Don't just say you're my brother and sister. Act like it. Be like it. We need to start being. That's what it's about. Let's just speak in those terms and live in those terms. And inshallah, we will have so much amazing relationships. And I thank you so much for listening. I thank you for the organization for arranging this. And if there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them at the end. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam. Thank you so much, Sister Fahima. You gave a really amazing way to understand our roles and choices by considering our neurological development and the trauma we carry since childhood. Your approach really blew me away. Your approach to relationships and life is so needed by our community. And I wish you the best as you continue this very important work. And we will certainly address it more in the Q&A section. Excuse me. Our final speaker today will be Zakira Sabira Hussain. Sister Sabira acquired her religious training in Mumbai and Qom. She holds a gold medal in English literature from Mumbai University and is a creative writer, playwright, and an English language skills coach. After 3 decades of being in the field of academia, she's now ventured into the field of helping families and individuals who migrate to Canada to pursue their goals. She's been delivering lectures on Islam at various institutions for 30 years around the world. She has conducted workshops focusing on religious tolerance, coexistence, multicultural sensitivity in both the US and Canada. She moved to Montreal, where she studied French and volunteers with Syrian refugees and Southeast Asian women giving language courses. She regularly appears on media outlets such as Koja TV and Imam Hussain TV, amongst others, and is associated with the Madrasa Khadijatul Kubra in Mumbai, Toronto, and Qom. She is also the co-founder of Azah Narratives, a global endeavor to reimagine Azadari. Since the world today is a global village, the followers of the Ahl Bayt have to honor the responsibility of Azah with diligence and passion. We need to represent it wherever we live around the world and be the best version of ourselves. Now I invite Sister Sabra to give her talk entitled Spiritual Balance in the Ahl Bayt Perspective. Sister Sabra.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا رب فاطمة اشف صدر فاطمة بدخول الحجة يا رب الحسين اشف صدر الحسين بدخول الحجة يا رب المؤمنين والمؤمنات اشف صدور المؤمنين والمؤمنات بدخول الحجة اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم ولعن عدوهم من الأولين والآخرين إلى يوم القيامة. At the onset, I thank the organizers of this beautiful program, the way it has panned out over the past 1.5 hour, 1 hour 40 almost. I am amazed at what inputs all my fellow sisters have given and made this truly a learning experience for me. Individually and collectively, we are awaiting the Savior, and we know that there will be a purpose when he arrives, and inshallah we may be part of the global revolution that he will undertake. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Insan has been created with so many roles to play, and Allah says in the Holy Quran that in his own wisdom there has to be behind every